At the University of Regina, the Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Digital Resource Hub showcases impactful EDI initiatives across the campus.
It's a centralized, accessible resource for our community and post-secondary institutions nationally.
Join us to hear the stories behind the initiatives shaping our campus.
Well, at JSGS, the EDI themes that we focus on are creating a welcoming and accessible space. We do our best to address systemic barriers. In everything that we do, in our programs, in our operations, our outreach, our teaching and research, we do our best to represent the diverse voices of our community. So some of the priorities that we're currently focusing on are indigenization and reconciliation. We're looking at our hiring and admissions to make sure that we have diverse representation, building cultural competencies amongst the faculty, staff, and students, and embedding inclusive practice into our teaching, research, and public engagement.
And yeah, so this is especially important in public policy education because JSGS graduates will work with and lead diverse communities as future public sector leaders. So students have to learn to listen, they need to learn to engage inclusively, understand various perspectives, and work through complex challenges fairly and respectfully. We embed EDI into everything we do because EDI supports a sense of belonging, and that fosters innovation, creativity, and excellence in policy research and education. And at JSGS, we want to help prepare inclusive public sector leaders because that's what we should be doing.
Some of the resources and training that we have done, we've worked with the faculty members to incorporate EDI principles in their coursework. So for instance, last year we had a couple of our faculty members, Kurt Boyer, who's a faculty member at the University of Saskatchewan, and Danette Star-Blanket, who's a faculty member at the University of Regina. They looked at they did a comprehensive review of the curriculum. They were looking at things like, for instance, the case studies that we're doing for all of our courses to make sure that there is some Indigenous case studies that are represented. They looked at the reading lists to make sure that we have Indigenous writers also represented. So basically what they really wanted to do is to make sure that as our students are graduating, they leave as well-rounded, informed people. Other things that we've done, we've got a dedicated Canvas site that's on the University of Regina site. That's at the University of Saskatchewan. And then at the University of Regina, we've got a JSGS private site in URSource, where we have EDI resources that are available for faculty members to reference and use. We've hosted workshops on things like implicit bias, inclusive hiring. We did a workshop on respectfully delivering land acknowledgements. Some of the things, so like with some of that, for instance, a few days ago, we had our staff meeting and one of the staff was talking about one of the workshops that we put up, and the one thing that they took with them was about this book that was recommended. They read the book and it's actually taught them a lot about the Métis culture that he was not aware of. So it seems like some of that work is actually getting through. We've done inclusive communication guidelines that we've developed for publications and website accessibility. Some of the things that we're working on right now is inclusive event planning guidelines. And for that, we're looking to make sure that we ask questions in the event registration about accessibility needs. And then once we gather the information, we make sure that the space that we have is geared towards, the responses that we've got. So for instance, if somebody is in a wheelchair, we make sure that's this space available for the wheelchair. If we have people with hearing impairment, we've got things to help with their participation so that they can hear what's happening. For the online audience, during the opening remarks, we make sure that we have a clear explanation of the event format and what the participation method for the audience supposed to look like. We make sure that we have closed captioning enabled for the online events.
Yeah, and one of our most popular initiatives is our EDI Discussion Series, and that launched in 2021. So we've covered a lot of different topics, including supporting and empowering BIPOC voices, working effectively with First Nations and Métis communities, supporting mental health in the workplace, and embedding EDI in HR practices. So speakers are subject matter experts and with frontline perspectives and lived experience, and that makes for a more impactful and engaging discussion. They're hosted on Zoom, and they're recorded for those who aren't able to attend in person, so they can access that information later. And they're actually really highly attended. At our highest point, we had 800 people on the Zoom call, and we're attracting a wide range of people. So there's folks joining from the public sector, private sector, nonprofit sector, from academia, and also the general public. And even though the sessions are online, we try to keep them as interactive as possible and very engaging. And so, and this group that attends, they're always submitting really excellent questions that really help to further the discussion. Sometimes they challenge our speakers, which I think is also great, but we also get really good questions and impactful discussions out of the EDI Discussion Series. Yeah, so we have an EDI committee, and they are the heart of all the EDI work that we do. So the EDI committee is made up of JSGS faculty, staff, students, and executives and residents. And we have representation from Indigenous communities. We have representation from Indigenous communities, racialized communities, and the 2S LGBTQ+ communities. And it's voluntary, so we send out a call each year, and people from JSGS volunteer on this community. And we never are short of volunteers, which I think really shows that the JSGS team finds EDI initiatives very important and is high priority for us, which is great.
So the committee is actually divided into two subcommittees. One focuses on operations, teams, outreach, and our physical spaces. And the other one focuses on programs and research. So the first one is mostly composed of staff, executives and residents, and we've got student representations as well. And the second one, that's programs and research, is mostly faculty members, but there's also student representation on that. So the work of the committee is to make sure that we look at our the EDI strategic priorities, and making sure that we're actually doing what we said we're going to do. So keeping us on task and making sure that we're meeting our targets. We're reporting on everything that we're doing back to the school, so that the school is aware of all of the initiatives that the EDI committee is doing. Okay, so this one I'm definitely going to need to be reading through because there's a lot. So some of the things that we've seen as a result of the EDI efforts that we've made are, the most notable is we've seen a greater awareness of EDI principles across our hiring, our admissions, and our course development. In our events and communications, like Karen mentioned, we've now got a wider range of voices that are represented. We've seen some improved accessibility and inclusiveness in both our physical and virtual environments, like I mentioned earlier. We've also had some notable achievements. One I would like to mention is about Ubuntu digital storytelling project that was recently done. And the biggest thing that I was a part of that, and one of the most notable thing was that there was a lot of JSGS students and alumni that were represented in that film. So to me, that just really shows how the work that's done at JSGS, the EDI work, really people identify with it, and they put a lot of heart into it. if you do a quick Google search, you can also see, alumni, JSGS alumni like Cadmus Delorme, who's doing some leading national reconciliation work. We've got some staff-led initiatives. For example, one of our staff, her name is Marilyn Black. She organizes lunch and learns for all the faculty, staff, and students. We've done things like, beading. We've done ribbons, skirt ribbons. We've done pillow ribbons, like really just giving us a lot of opportunity to learn a lot about the Indigenous culture, about the Métis culture, some really good things that we've learned through those, including developing relationships with the Indigenous community through the people that she's brought in for the lunch and learns.
Yeah, and some other things we're doing. So JSGS is partnering with the File Hills Qu'Appelle Tribal Council to build capacity in Indigenous communities. So we are supporting Indigenous students through a new Masters of Health Administration cohort, and we're hoping that this strengthens the Indigenous capacity of healthcare in the healthcare sector in Saskatchewan, and also helps to indigenize healthcare in Saskatchewan. And so we also have our faculty doing work. So one example is Akram Mahani is working on a project right now on youth mental health that unites youth, artists, policymakers, knowledge keepers to co-design solutions to support youth mental health through neighborhood and urban design. And so this project promotes cultural safety, it strengthens trust between the university and the community, and it empowers the youth members to meaningfully influence planning and policy decisions.
Okay, so some of the notable achievements that I would like to mention, one of them is Ubuntu Digital Storytelling. This is a project that celebrates Black community and alumni. I was actually a part of it. It looked at 3 different areas. So it looked at research as a Black person, looking at being a Black person in the medical field, in the health field, and also a Black person in a leadership role. So I was approached to talk about being a Black woman in a leadership position. It gave me the opportunity to really speak about the challenges, but also all of the good things that have happened and all the things that shaped me into the person that I became. Ubuntu Digital Storytelling gave me the opportunity to talk about some things that were really deeply personal to me. So for instance, one of the things that I really try to get people to understand is about unconscious biasness. People are generally good, but we come with this unconscious biasness that because they're unconscious, we're not aware, we don't know that we actually have them. So we're judging people based on things that we've learned throughout our childhood, throughout our lives, and not really seeing people the way we should see them. So this gave me the opportunity to talk about things like that and the impact that, if you are aware that you have these biases, then you can actually do something about it. So being able to be in front of the camera and speak about some of those challenges and some of those opportunities that I've had to give that voice to people who are experiencing things like that, to me was really important. And so this Ubuntu Digital Storytelling project meant a lot to me in that I'm able to give voice to people like me. I'm able to get people to identify with some of the challenges that we face that people might not be aware of, because it's not something that you go through personally. So being able to speak about some of the things that I've gone through personally and help people identify and be aware and see. Like I said, people are generally good people, so nobody wants to discriminate. So when it's happening, it's not because, in most cases, it's not because this is what you're naturally prone to do. It's something that you're not aware that you're doing. So being able to bring that out through that project, I think to me was really important. And it wasn't just in the leadership, it was also in the healthcare, in the research. Like as a research person, a Black person in research, what are the challenges that you experience that other people might not, because they're not Black like you, or they don't have the same bias, they don't experience the same biases that you do. So I think that to me was really important, and seeing a number of JSGS alumni and even current students speaking about that tells me that JSGS is we've given that we've made it easy for people to speak and to know that whatever they speak about, they're respected, their voices are heard, and we're doing something about it. So that was really important to me. Some of the challenges that I think still remain are things like systemic barriers. Those are deeply ingrained, and we know that that's going to take a long time to get through. But any small progress that we make, we definitely celebrate. Measuring long-term EDI impacts is difficult, but definitely very necessary. One thing that I like to talk about is unconscious bias. That one still continues to affect equity and inclusion. And the one thing that I think, like if people become aware of the unconscious biases that they bring in, then that is the biggest impact that we could have, is looking internally, identifying these biases that we come with, and doing everything we can to overcome them. I think that's where the biggest impact, the biggest change would come through. So to me, that still remains, and it's one area that I think is really important to put more resources, more time, more education in.
Yeah, and I guess one challenge that we deal with, Johnson Shoyama is a school at 2 universities. And so we have, the advantages are we have access to double the resources, double the networks, but it requires a bit more coordination across different policies and procedures because the 2 universities don't have the same policies and procedures. So the upside with that is when we're tackling challenges, we have 2 universities behind us, so that can help make us more creative, more collaborative, and more effective when we're dealing with problems. And at JSGS, we really do have a commitment to deepening reconciliation and decolonization. Some of our future goals include increasing engagement with underrepresented communities, expanding our EDI training opportunities, and improving the institutional accountability beyond Johnson Shoyama.
So the one thing that I would maybe say to the community that's watching this, I truly believe people are generally good. So if you want to make a change comes from within. So when I was talking about that unconscious bias, what are some of the things I can do? I can identify that within myself. I can spend time within myself, do as much research, as much reading, training that I can to understand what biases do I have, what biases do I bring in, and how can I overcome those? And if I can do that, then I know that I can bring the change that I want to see. So you want to bring the change that you want to see, that change starts within you. So look within yourself, identify it within yourself, and then do something about it.
Yeah, and I would say just really listen. There's so many people out there with such good and extensive knowledge, and they're willing to share that with you. So just really be open to learning and creating and exposing yourself to different opportunities. Kind of what Sadia said, like be open to the experience, reflect on yourself, and be willing to grow and change.